and you are watching News You Can't Snooze. Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm Omi Bell, and you are watching News You Can't Snooze. For those of you who don't know, I'm the CEO of Black Girl Ventures. I am also the host of Urban View Mornings on Tuesday mornings from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's a live drive time show. I also host a Sunday show called The Omi Show on Sirius XM Urban View as well. And in one of the and in this great role of me getting to work as a journalist and reporter, I get to report the news. And so I'm excited today to just pop up and bring y'all the news. Good morning. And so the way this works, because this is my second day doing it. I did it yesterday and it worked well, and I like it. So I'm gonna do it again, and maybe I'll do it every day because the great producers over at SiriusXM give us a slew of news to report while we're on air, and sometimes we don't get to report it all because we have great conversations with everyone. So, hey y'all, and if you see me looking back and forth, it's because I have two cameras going, and I want to make sure. Actually, let me put y'all on this side. There we go. And I want to make sure I can share with everyone all the things that are happening in the world. So in this, I'm just gonna be running it down. I won't necessarily be stopping to comment a lot, but you please drop your comments as much as you want. I'll be kind of observing the comments from platform to platform to see what people are talking about and what y'all want me to talk about. Also, become an Omi homie by texting the word "hey" to 202-918-4483. That's right. Become an Omi homie by texting "hey" HEY to 202-918-4483. But without further ado, here is today's news you can't snooze. Today is July 17th, 2024. We are still facing heat waves across the country, so please make sure that you are make sure that you're being cool out there. Here we go. DEI programs lose the word equity, downgrading to inclusion and diversity. Following policy change from the Society of Human Resource Management, the Society of Human Resource Management announced last week that it dropped the word equity from its diversity, equity, and inclusion policy, saying this strategic decision underscores our commitment to leading with inclusion as a catalyst for holistic change in workplaces and society. The organization also said DEI programs have led to social backlash and increasing polarization. Many corporate leaders claim the word equity confused them, asking whether it meant equal opportunity or equal outcomes. That's an interesting question, really great question. SHRM's president, which is the Society for Human Resource Management, the president, Johnny C. Taylor Jr., said, "We're not uh, capitulating to anyone." Or are they? A lot of companies were already doing this, but DEI professionals believe that SHRM's actions will embolden those who want to eliminate DEI work entirely. Speaking of eliminating DEI work, Microsoft lays off its DEI team as fired staff complained diversity ideals were no longer business critical. Microsoft fired its diversity, equity, and inclusion team. It's not clear at this time how many employees were let go. A DEI internal team leader at Microsoft slammed the company's changing business needs in an email sent to thousands of employees, saying diversity was no longer business critical. Following George Floyd's death in 2020, Microsoft pledged to spend $150 million on DEI programs and mandate training on racial allyship and privilege for all non-Black employees. It also pledged to double the number of Black leaders it employs at the top of the company by 2025. CEO Satya Nadella previously insisted such moves would not be a one-time event. In a statement, Microsoft insisted that its DEI commitments remain unchanged. Several tech companies, including Google, Meta, and Zoom, have walked back DEI commitments that were made in the wake of Black Lives Matter protests in 2020. Separately, CNN disbanded its race and equality reporting group just last week, integrating those reporters across the newsroom. Last month, Tractor Supply, an 86-year-old rural retailer, announced it would also end its DEI and environmental practices entirely. This is being reported on by Daily Mail Co. Dailymail.co. Dailymail.co. AP African American Studies class cut by South Carolina Education Department was an eye-opener, students said. Last month, the South Carolina Department of Education cut off a new AP African American Studies class following a pilot program. The class, Four Grounds of Study of the Diversity of Black Communities in the United States within a broader context of Africa and the African diaspora. Its curriculum is divided in 4 units, beginning with the origins of the African diaspora, starting in 900 BC and ending in the 2000s, with a unit called Movements and Debates. Students who took the pilot program said the class was exciting and an eye opener, and it taught them things they didn't know. And it shows the richness of Africa and what it was before colonization. One Black student said the class inspired her to minor in African American studies in college because there was, quote, there was so much I learned in those 45 minutes than I think I had learned throughout my entire life. That's being reported on by postandcourier.com. President Biden to push for the Supreme Court ethics reform, term limit, and amendment to overturn immunity ruling. President Joe Biden is considering public endorsing major reforms at the Supreme Court, including publicly backing term limits for justices. He also plans to support an ethics code for the court that would contain an enforcement mechanism, which was not included in the code the court adopted last year. Biden is also considering whether he should push for a constitutional amendment that would effectively reverse the historic ruling from the court earlier this month that gave presidents immunity for some actions they took while in office. That's by CNN.com. A map shows, I reported on this yesterday, but I want to do it again just in case anybody missed it and to make sure that you're being vigilant. Maps show where COVID levels are very high as summer waves spread. More than half the states are now seeing high or very high levels of COVID in their wastewater testing, according to new figures published by this Friday by the CDC. Washington, D.C. and 26 states are now seeing substantial increases in COVID-19 emergency room visits. Nationwide, the average share of emergency room patients with COVID-19 has increased has increased 115% from a month ago. So please be vigilant out there. There are signs that the summer wave may have reached its peak across some western states, but could continue to rise everywhere else in the next 8 weeks. That's being reported on by CBS News. At the second day of the RNC, Trump's former rivals buried their criticisms to celebrate all-powerful GOP leader. This report is coming from CNN.com. Several Republican presidential candidates who were taken down by Donald Trump took to the stage to praise him at the RNC, Republican National Convention, showing that the GOP is indisputably and irrevocably Trump's party now. Speakers portrayed Trump as a caring and even benevolent leader, boss, and grandfather while smoothing the rougher edges of his populist and authoritarian worldview. Nikki Haley said, quote, "You don't have to agree with Trump 100% of the time to vote for him." Marco Rubio said that MAGA supporters want quote unquote, is not what MAGA supporters want is not hateful or extreme. Texas Senator Ted Cruz said, "God bless Donald Trump." Also coming from CNN, Donald Trump chooses Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as running mate after last-minute push from Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump named Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate on Monday, calling him to offer the spot only 20 minutes before making the announcement on Truth Social. Vance supporters, including Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., and Tucker Carlson, argued that Vance would be the most loyal selection of Trump's short list. They also made the case that Vance can appeal to the working class voters and believe his wife is the child of Indian immigrants, can appeal to minority voters. Vance was a never Trumper during the 2016 election. He has called Trump a cynical a-hole, America's Hitler, idiot, a cultural heroine. Democrats, including President Biden, have already said Vance is a quote-unquote clone of Trump. Also reported on by CNN.com. You're next. Some Trump supporters blame the media for assassination attempt. Donald Trump was shot in the ear Saturday evening while speaking on stage at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump survived the shooting, but one attendee and the shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, were both killed. Moments after the shooting, Trump supporters blamed the media and the press, pinned for shooting. The press pin? Oh, the press pin. Blame media and the press bin for the shooting. Some want the press, "You're next," and that their time is coming. A few rally goers tried to breach the press barriers, but were stopped by security. The Trump campaign urged its staff to condemn all forms of violence and said it would not tolerate dangerous rhetoric on social media. Right-wing fighters quickly blamed liberals and conspiracy theories for the shooting. Representative Mike Collins of Georgia wrote, "Joe Biden sent the orders." Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene blame Democrats for the attempted assassination, and Republicans are in a battle against the party of pedophiles, is what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Past attacks on liberals such as Paul Pelosi resulted in right-wing media conspiracy theories and increased approval of violence. Liberal media figures such as Rachel Maddow contempted political violence after the attack and said they were, quote unquote, disgusted and, quote unquote, horrified. Being reported on by CNBC.com, Special Counsel Jack Smith to appeal Trump classified documents case by dismissal judge by Judge Eileen Cannon. So it's on the route to be appealed. Federal Judge Eileen Cannon dismissed the criminal classified documents case against Donald Trump on Monday, saying the appointment of Special Counsel Jack Smith was a prosecutor Lord have mercy, a prosecutor for the case violated the U.S. Constitution. Later in the day, the Justice Department said Smith intends to appeal the decision. The DOJ said in a statement that all previous courts have uniformly concluded that the Attorney General is statutorily authorized to appoint a special counsel. Trump was accused of illegally retaining classified documents after leaving the White House and trying to withhold them from government officials. Reported on by NBC News, Biden snaps repeatedly at Lester Holt in combative NBC interview days after Trump's assassination attempt, as private efforts continue to have Biden step aside. In the new interview, the NBC News anchor Lester Holt on Monday, President Biden repeatedly advocated for his health and policies and said that the threat from Donald Trump is too stark to ignore. President Biden said it was a mistake to say that it was Trump's time to put in a bullseye, said it was a figure of speech and that Trump is the one who mainstreamed violent rhetoric. Biden also challenged the media, saying, why don't you guys ever talk about the 28 lies Trump told? Where are you on this? Why didn't the press ever talk about that? Although the public calls for Democrats asking Biden to lead the presidential race have quieted, private efforts to nudge the president and his top aides continue, focused mostly on memos from leading Democratic pollster Stanley Greenberg that say Biden is on track to lose the election and damage the other Democratic candidates. Ingrid Andress, y'all may have seen a video going viral of her um, performing the national anthem drunk. And Ingrid Andress checks into rehab after drunk national anthem performance. Country singer Ingrid Andress announces on Tuesday that she is checking into rehab after Monday night's heavily criticized performance of the Star Spangled Banner at the baseball's annual home run derby in Arlington, Texas. In a statement she shared on social media, she wrote, I'm not gonna bullshit y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility to get help to the help I need. That was not me last night. I apologize to MOB and all the fans in this country I love so much for that rendition. I'll let you know how rehab is. I hear it's super fun. Andrews will release a new single on July 24th called quote unquote Colorado 9. Pay less, but win more. USAtoday.com reports South Carolina's Don Staley fights for equity in SB speech. Now, this is, I would say, fairly old news, but if you didn't see it, South Carolina women's basketball coach Don Staley all day. There will be no Don Staley slander. She is the best. She's all that. South Carolina women's basketball coach Don Staley delivered a powerful speech at the ESPYs last week in which she championed pay equity for women. She said, how do I not fight for injustice when I ask them to do things the right way? How do I ask for fairness when I ask them, how do I not ask for fairness when I ask them not to cheat themselves, not to cut corners? How do I not fight for pay disparity when I do the same job and get paid less but win more? They're watching me. I can't ask them to stand up for themselves if I'm sitting down, nor can I ask them to use their voice to affect change if I'm only willing to whisper. So when someone tells me to shut up and coach, I simply say, no, I have a job to do. Staley is one of 18 women's basketball coaches making $1 million or more this year. By comparison, 71 men's basketball coaches earned at least $1 million in 2023 and 2024. Interesting. All right, you may have seen some of the news that Gavin Newsom signed a bill banning schools from notifying parents about the student's gender. Governor Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of California, signed a bill on Monday that prohibits mandating that teachers notify families about student gender identity changes, capping a year-long battle between conservative school board between conservative school boards concerned about parental rights and LGBTQIA plus activists worried about vulnerable youth. The new law shields teachers from retaliation for supporting transgender student rights and prohibits K through 12 forced disclosure rules. It comes in response to a school board decision in some red pockets of California to notify parents if their child changes their name or pronouns, or if students request to use facilities or participate in programs that don't match their official gender on record. The bill will also require that the California Department of Education to offer resources to parents and students about how to manage conversations about gender identity privately. Attempts at gender notification policies, including in the school districts in Chino Valley and Temecula, have triggered lawsuits over student privacy rights, and have drawn the ire of California Attorney General Rob Bonta, am I saying that right? Who said they could cause imminent Lord, why can I talk today? I think I'm reading too fast. Imminent irreparable harm. LGBTQ plus young people may not feel safe coming out at home. Since 2020, 8 states, including Indiana and Tennessee, have passed school gender for notification policies. According to the Movement Advancement Project, California is the first to outlaw such policies at the local level. The Democratic-controlled state legislature passed AB 1955 last month after a fiery debate with Democrats had with Republicans who alleged that the policy aimed to drive a wedge between parents and their children and was a governmental oversight. I mean, that's an interesting way to put it. I have thoughts on that, but I'm just here to report the news today. And along with that, Elon Musk says he's moving X and SpaceX to headquarter to Texas. The tech mogul cited California's new transgender rights law as the quote unquote final straw for moving out of the state. Elon Musk said he is moving more of his business empire to Texas. Musk runs X and SpaceX will shift their corporate headquarters to the Lone Star State of from the Lone Star State of California. He wrote in a series of posts on X on Tuesday. He didn't provide a timeline for the move, but he was clear about his rationale. This is the final straw, Musk commented on a post about California law protecting the rights, the privacy of transgender children, because this law and the many others that preceded it, attacking both families and companies, SpaceX will now move its HQ from Hawthorne, California to Starbase, Texas. He then added that XHQ will move to Austin from San Francisco and that he's had enough of dodging gangs and violent drugs just to get in and out of buildings. Headquarter moves start out as a symbolic, but can be hugely consequential for states such as California if the staff relocates or the budgets rely on taxes. Um, oh, interesting. I didn't think about that. California rules have long drawn the ire of Musk. He said in 2020 that he had personally relocated to Texas, a move that could spare him California's high taxes. In some maybe somewhat good news, today is Kendrick Lamar's 37th birthday. And so let's talk about it. As we celebrate Kendrick Lamar's 37th birthday, it's a fitting time to reflect on monumental impact that he's had on the world of music and beyond. Hailing from Compton, California, Kendrick Lamar has transformed the hip-hop landscape with his profound lyrics, storytelling prowess, and innovative soundscapes. From his early days with Section 80 to Pulitzer Prize winning Damn, Kendrick's discography is a testament to his artistic evolution and social consciousness. Here's a list of 37 of his most iconic tracks. I'm not gonna read them all, but Damn is number one, To Pimp a Butterfly number two, Swimming Pools number three. They didn't put DNA from Damn, but they didn't put They Not Like Us, which I guess it shouldn't get that much glory at this point. But here we go. Today also marks 10 years since the tragic death of Eric Gardner at the hands of police violence. His death sparked mass protests in New York and other cities, significantly influencing the Black Lives Matter movement. On July 17, 2014, in Staten Island, New York police officers approached Garner, a Black man, for allegedly selling untaxed cigarettes. The situation escalated as police moved to arrest him. Officer Daniel Pantaleo placed Garner in a chokehold, violating NYPD policy, which ultimately led to Garner's death. Footage of the incident, which with a bystander captured on a cell phone, showed Garner repeatedly stating, "I can't breathe." These words became a rallying cry against police brutality. Pantaleo was not charged with a crime, which led to outrage in New York City, but he was ultimately fired from the force in 2019 at the department trial. In June 2020, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a law named after Garner that outlawed the use of police chokeholds. This came shortly after the death of George Floyd, a black man who died after white police in Minneapolis knelt on his neck. Uh, what else is happening? Oh, more news. Andreessen Horowitz co-founders explain that they are supporting Trump. Mark Andreessen, the co-founder of one of the most prominent venture capital firms in Silicon Valley, says he's been a Democrat most of his life. He says he's endorsed and voted for Bill Clinton, Al Gore, John Kerry, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton. However, he says he's no longer loyal to the Democratic Party. In the 2024 presidential race, he's supporting and voting for the former President Donald Trump. The reason is choosing Trump over President Biden boils down to primarily one major issue. He believes, excuse me, Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz believes Trump's policies are much more favorable for tech, specifically the startup ecosystem. Andreessen explained his reasoning and how the presidential candidates program stack up against each other in the latest The Ben and Mark Show episode, a podcast that he co-hosts with his A16 co-founder, Ben Horowitz. "I wish we didn't have to pick a side," said Horowitz, who also acknowledged that his political choice would upset many of his friends and even his mother. We literally believe the future of our business, the future of technology, and future of America is at stake. Andreessen and Horowitz argued that tech prowess is one of the three pillars, along with economy and military might, that allow the U.S. to be the most successful country in the world over the last century. American dominance in these three areas helped the U.S. to peacefully defeat one of the biggest threats of the 20th century, the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union ended the Cold War because it couldn't keep up with U.S. technology, the A16 co-founders said. Why is tech important? It's because if you don't have the tech part of the triangle, you're not going to have the economy part. You're not going to have the military part, Andreessen said. The pair listed several reasons why they believe the Biden administration is stifling startups through overregulation and potential needless taxation, while Trump will help innovation flourish. Well, that concludes all of my news you can't snooze today. There's some other things happening in the world that you probably should take a Google about. And outside of the RNC Republican National Convention, one or two, I'm not sure if both black men got killed, but Ohio police officers actually fired off on a black man holding knives. Two black men were seemingly in an engagement where they were about to fight. One of the black men is holding two knives. While police were in a briefing, they saw the men getting into a fight right outside the arena. And so they went over and asked the man with the two knives to drop his knives. He did not drop his knives, and they opened fire on this man. I'm interested to see how that story develops and what kind of outrages happen. Also, in the case of the Secret Service and the conversation around the Secret Service not being available or not being positioned well or not being where they needed to be in order to protect former President Donald Trump. The head of the Secret Service, she in an interview with CNN, she mentioned that they respect the local police and that the local police were responsible for those parts. I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm gonna do a post about this because when it comes to protecting the president, I'm not sure respecting the local police makes sense, but it is what it is. So I mean, that is how they operate. And from a federal, state, and like a local level, they do try to respect law enforcement throughout. So I understand what she's saying, and I think that the public would still be outraged if there was not enough protection. So thank you for tuning in to News Against News. If y'all like this, let me know. Send me a DM. Wherever you're watching me right now, send me a DM if you like the News Against News. We get plenty of news topics every day. So I can also try to do these as many times a week as possible. And maybe I can try and make it at 10:30 every day and give y'all 30 minutes of whatever today's news is. Two things for you to remember, maybe three. I'm Omi Bell. I'm the CEO and founder of Black Girl Ventures, but I'm also a media personality. I host Tuesday Sirius XM Urban View Mornings on Tuesdays. It's a live drive time show from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. You can tune in. I also host a Sunday show on Sirius XM channel 126 as well. And you know what? You don't even have to worry about all of that, because if you just join my text list, I'll let you know everything that's about to happen with me. And to join my text list, text "Hey" to 202-918-4483, or you can just text me 202-918-4483. 202-918-4483. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to News You Can't Snooze. I'll try to do these as many mornings as I can at 10:30 a.m. So who knows? Tune in tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. and I'll see you right here with the more of today's news. Thank y'all for watching.